Today we're at the Titleist Performance Centre here at Worthing to check out 4 brand new Titleist irons, and I have to say, these look stunning. So all 4 of the new irons here aim to offer something different to a wide variety of golfers. Now if we start with the T100s, we've got 2 models here. We've got the general T100 and then we've got the T100S, which is just designed to look and feel the same, but the lofts are a bit stronger, so it's going to go a little bit further. Now the T100 is Titleist's most popular iron on tour, so there's not that much changing in terms of shaping of the ball, which I really like because I had these in play and the top line and the offset are really similar, familiar and look great behind the golf ball. So in terms of performance, we've got 4 pretty different offerings here from Titleist. If we start at the bottom here, the T100 and the T100S are really designed to be that modern tour player iron. The T100 is obviously the model that we see in Spieth's bag and it's very traditional, and then when we move into the S model it is very similar in terms of shaping, but the lofts are a little bit stronger, so it's going to give you that little bit extra distance. Now for me, I think this is going to work really great because I do like a traditional look behind the ball, I don't like much offset and I really like the shaping of this, but I'm only 5'4", so anywhere I can get a little bit extra distance is always a bonus. Now moving across into the T200, this is designed to be a bit more of a distance club, and I actually really love the new shaping of this because it looks really similar to the T100 in styling, and it's definitely a lot more tour inspired than we saw in the previous generation. This should give us a little bit more height and a little bit more distance than we've seen in the T100s, but it is definitely going to be the T300, which is the most forgiving, the highest launching and the longest in this range. Now obviously these are a little bit bigger than we see in the T100, but actually the offset is pretty minimal across them all. In fact, the T200 is the same as the T100 now, which I really like. Now we've got a little bit of extra technology going on here, but still the designs are really sleek and classic, and I do love that about this whole range. Right, let's go hit them and see what the differences are. So I've just grabbed my old T100 iron, and it's really interesting to compare them over the ball because they look so similar, and I really like the fact that that offset and the shaping is really consistent, because if you're someone like Spieth and out on tour, you're not looking for something that looks different, you're just wanting a little bit extra performance. So I think from that point of view, people are going to be really happy with that because the shaping was already nailed on here, so there was no need for Titleist to change it. Now what is quite obviously different is the change of colour here, and I actually really like this new brushed chrome. It's a little bit lighter, it just stands out a little bit more, and I do think probably over time this wouldn't wear quite as much, so definitely a good upgrade there. I would also say in terms of shaping, these just look a little bit more modern, sleek and classic, and I just really like the way these have been designed. Right, let's give them a hit. Feels really nice through the turf. You can definitely feel that difference in the sole. It kind of just glides off the grass a bit easier. So that's carried at 150.3, which is definitely pretty much what I would expect from normal. The spin's in the mid 6,000s, so it's definitely pretty good. And it's filling up at just under 90 in terms of feet for the height, so definitely pretty pleased with that. And also the land angle is pretty steep, up at 45, so definitely really pleased with those numbers so far. I'm not sure I expected this to fly quite as far as that. What I really like about these is it just feels like you can control the ball so well, obviously because of the size and also that sole going through the ground. But I would say these feel a little bit more solid than the previous version, and I wonder if that's down to a bit of the change of shape and also that extra tungsten that we've got in there. Now I'm going to switch into the T100S now. I'm really interested to see how the height is going to be changed with those stronger lofts. There is a little bit difference in technology to kind of get that same flight, but with the further distance. So it's going to be interesting to see just if the flight changes at all, and also if I do see a little bit more distance. Look how good these look though. I just can't get over how good looking they are. Okay, that's come out hot. Dead straight as well though. Okay, so that's flown at 163.8 yards, so like an extra 13 yards pretty much on the T100s. But what's really interesting is the height's still very similar. That's flown up at 88 feet. The land angle's very similar, it's at 44.7. The spin is a touch lower, it's in the high 5,000s, but I'd still be really pleased with that. So really interested to see just how much distance we've picked up, but then the other variables have stayed very similar. Oh, it's just so good. I would say in terms of feel, these do feel a little bit more solid, but they also do feel like there's a little bit more weight at the bottom of the club. I don't particularly mind that because I've come from clubs that have got quite a lot of technology packed into them, and I do like the feeling of that weight low, especially through the strike zone. But if you're someone who prefers something a bit more lightweight, definitely something to consider in terms of your swing weighting. That's very big for me. Okay, that's just flown 165.5 yards with a 7-iron. That's like 15 yards longer than my game is. Do you think anyone will just notice if I just leave with these? So when it comes to the T200, really for me, I think this is the most improved visually in the range. There's so much technology packed into this, and you could really see that before in the previous offering, but here we've got a much sleeker design. It's definitely more tour inspired, and you can see that kind of theme that's come through from the T100s with the similar kind of shapings. Now we've definitely got more technology packed into this. In fact, this has the most tungsten in any of the Titleist irons, so a lot of weight low down and also in the heel and toe that's really going to help you out in terms of that forgiveness and launch. Now this has a multi-material body. We've got a muscle plate in the back that's really going to help with some weight savings, which helps us get that more tungsten in the club head. We've also got the new Max Impact 2.0 technology in here. So this has been upgraded for this time around with the help of the golf ball team. And this is a polymer inside the head that's going to help out with that feel. Now I would expect this to fly a little bit higher and a little bit further than what we've seen in the others. But to be honest, I hit the T100S so well. It's going to be interesting to see how close I get to those numbers with this. So when you pick this up, this is a bigger head shaping and it does feel a little bit thicker, but what I really like is over the ball the offset is the same. So I think that's great if you wanted to say a combo from a T100 to a T200, or even visually for me, I just don't like the look of offset because sometimes I feel like it's going to make me hit it left. So this doesn't have that, so it makes you feel really confident that you could hit this golf club. The feel definitely is a little bit different. It's not quite as solid with what we saw in the T100S, but it's really not a massive difference at all, given how different the sizing is here and given how different the construction is. It still feels really solid, and that flew up really nicely. I had a really nice high ball flight there. So that was probably my best strike yet, and that's flown out at 160, which is a little bit less than what we saw with the T100S. However, it's flown so much higher. That was up at nearly 95 feet. So you can definitely see if you're someone who needs a little bit more height on your shots or needs a steeper land angle into the green, this is really going to help with that stopping power, because the land angle there was also up at 47. So really good data all around there. So last but not least, here we've got the T300. Now this is really designed to be the game improvement iron in this range, so it's going to be the most forgiving. We can see here we've got a cavity back design, and compared to the previous offering we've got 40% more tungsten here. So definitely going to give you that more forgiveness and also that higher flight. Again, we've got that updated Max Impact technology here, which is going to give you more ball speed and launch, but it's also really going to help with that feel. Another cool design feature is the variable face thickness we've got here. It's actually slightly thinner on the heel, and that's just going to help you get more accurate and consistent ball speeds wherever you strike it on the club face. Because obviously the nearer the hosel it is, you're going to get a more hotter speed coming off, and the further away it would normally be less. So thinning that out here is really going to help with that. Again, you can see we've got that chrome plating on here, which just gives this a more premium look. Definitely flew nice and high. I'm not sure I struck it quite as good as I did with the others. Over the ball you can definitely see this is quite a lot bigger. But what I do like is the fact is we've got this kind of two-tone top line, which definitely gives it the appearance that it's slightly thinner. That was definitely a little bit faster off the face. Felt really nice as well. Yeah, so that flew out at 166.1 yards, which is definitely a decent hit with a 7-iron for me. But still, what I like is the fact the height was up there, that was up at the 80s, the descent angle was still in the 40s, the spin was a bit lower, it's in the mid 4000s, but you're really going to expect that with this kind of different club construction. Oh, that was definitely my best one yet. Flew really high. It's only just landed. Okay, that's carried at 173.5 yards. The height was still up nearly in the 90s and the land angle was up at 43.6, so all really good numbers there, and we have got a little bit extra spin there in the kind of low 5000s, so all really good. Now, personally for me, I don't know if that's going a little bit too far, and obviously I probably don't need that much forgiveness in this iron, but it's really nice to see that something with a bigger shape still feels really good, looks good behind the golf ball, and is giving you really consistent data kind of across all your variables. So I've hit all 4 irons now, and I have to say I'm seriously impressed. When you look at these, obviously the visuals have changed quite a lot from the previous generation, and I think that's a really big step up. They just look a lot more sleeker and tour inspired, which is definitely going to draw more people in to try these. Across the range, we see real big differences in terms of performance, which means there's going to be something in there to suit everyone. Personally, I love the T100 offering, especially the T100S. I mean, I don't think I've ever hit a 7-iron that far before, but I also just love the traditional shaping of it, and it really gives that option to someone who wants a little bit extra distance, but doesn't necessarily want something that's untraditional in terms of offset and top line. So I think that's going to be a massive hit this year, and I really wouldn't be surprised if we see loads of these coming into the LPGA Tour, because you've got that benefit of extra distance but still really great land angle into the green. So you can get those nice high shots that are going to land and stop quickly, but you've got that extra distance too, which is definitely a win-win. In fact, for me, I would say that is the standout iron in this range, and definitely the one I'll be looking to put in my bag because it just performed so well. Now, if we move up into the T200, this was also a really great offering, and I think you're probably going to see people combo this a little bit. For me, I think I'm going to put this in a 5 and a 4 iron because it works really well in those clubs that I use quite a bit off the tee too, in terms of kind of a transition between a long iron and a driving iron. But in terms of other stock iron, the land angle and the height on this was so good. It's really going to help out those people who need more height on their shots, and it's also going to give you that little bit more distance and definitely be more forgiving. Finally, the T300 is obviously the game improvement offering here, and to the eye it still looks really good. Typically we see these as being very chunky, but Titleist have been really good in terms of their colouring and their offset to make this look really good behind the golf ball. Now obviously it's a little bit bigger than the other offerings, but that's going to give you that extra positive in terms of more distance and a really high flight, and also that nice forgiveness and good soft land angle. Another really impressive release here from Titleist. I think you're going to want to try these out. Right, that's all for today, but if you have any questions on any of the new T-Series irons, feel free to put them in the comments below. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head over to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more. As for these, I don't think Titleist need them, do you? I'm just gonna take these with me.